Chronic fatigue is an increasing amount of fatigue that interferes with your ability to do your everyday activities, generally for a period of 3 months or more. So, I mean, we get fatigued if we get sick, we're tired if we've had an illness, if something happens, but generally after that acute episode finishes, we return to our normal level of everyday functioning. But when people start to find that they have to change the routine, they're not able to do the types of things that they typically had been able to do before, and this is something that extends and in fact it may increase over time, then you end up with by definition, CFIDS, chronic fatigue immune deficiency syndrome is sort of the more complete name.
Nowadays, if we were to look back and we say how much more stress is on the body now than it was even 50 years ago. You know, how much have we changed food? How much has electromagnetic radiation come in? How many more hours do people work? How many less hours do people sleep? I mean, we have all these things, and I don't know that it's such a head scratcher that we're sitting here and saying, wow, we really haven't adapted to this environment as well. Now, the people that take care of themselves have the best chance to remain as healthy as they can, but this is not something that we can be passive with anymore. You know, people need to be active with their health because we know what's coming around the corner. Sooner or later, you're gonna break down. So the goal is, you know, it's like a car, you wanna do your maintenance, you wanna do all these things because sooner or later, something is gonna happen. You know, you're not just gonna fall off your combine. You know, that's not what happens these days. Now we get some kind of chronic, we'll say disease or some kind of chronic stress, and you want to make sure that you have enough of your system's ability to deal with whatever comes your way.
The most common reason in all medicine we always tend to think about is fatigue, as we look at the organs in our body that are allowed us to produce energy for our metabolism. So it's usually the thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland is responsible for allowing our body to produce adequate levels of energy for us to go through the day. And when somebody has a low functioning thyroid gland, one of the most common symptoms that they have is fatigue. So obviously the first thing you do is you look at the endocrine system. Interestingly, however, more often in my experience, what we're finding that those organs are actually working pretty reasonable, certainly not terribly low as one would anticipate. And that's often what happens in conventional practice is the endocrinologist says, no, your thyroid's fine, your adrenal gland is fine, your hormones are fine. You must be fit, maybe it's your nervous system, without knowing that that in fact is true. Because I more often find that it's an imbalance of the person's sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, which are our yin and yang, or the teeter-totter aspect of how our nervous systems has to balance itself.
I think that's the most confusing thing with healthcare today, is you'll go in and say, I'm tired, and somebody will run standardized blood tests and say, you're healthy. And then you'll go back and say, I'm tired, and somebody will run some extra blood tests and they'll say, you're healthy. And then there's the gridlock. You know, I know I'm tired, my blood work says I'm healthy, so that's pretty much as far as I can go with that. You know, but when you have all the diagnostic machines to look at the systems, like to look at neurofeedback, to look at a central nervous system, to look at heart rate variability, to look at a peripheral nervous system, you know, to look at all these different immune systems, do the thermography to see which parts are responding and which parts aren't responding. I mean, I think that's where you garnish the most amount of information, and it's like, well, what happened first? You know, you're not really interested in that, because by the time I see the patient, and if they do have fatigue and it's long-standing fatigue, there's never really one system that I'm like, oh, that one's doing really well. So by that time, it's like I would have had to do yearly battery testing to say, I can see this one starting to go. Because your body's pretty, I mean, it's a magnificent thing. You know, it hangs in there for a long enough period of time, and it hangs in there, but once it starts going, you see a lot of systems go at the same time.
One of the great benefits of being in the clinic for an extended period of time is because on the first day when we do our objective markers of the tests in clinic, and after doing therapies in the clinic for a week, we can repeat some of those tests, and you can see within a week's period of time the objective changes. Then when we continue for another week perhaps, and then repeat the test again, you again can see even a further improvement in their physiology. And that allows the people to understand that indeed the body has the ability to heal itself. Because that's really what it's all about. If it wasn't for the body's inherent ability to heal, there isn't really anything a doctor could do to ever really help a person get better. There are no incurable diseases. There are only incurable patients, and that's based on their willingness to participate in the journey And the more they're able to, for different reasons, the more that they're going to find great success in the long-term benefit of being here for an extended period of time.